Hi everybody, my friends, amigos, amistades, and أصدقائي أحبائي. أهلا وسهلا فيكم, bienvenidos, welcome to my show. This is the Anonymous Chef Show. In this show, we're gonna do a couple of things. Imagine that you visit someone, you visit a friend or family member, and you guys cook dinner together, then have a nice, beautiful conversation that makes you think and go home and take with you not only the yummy food in your stomach and the good feelings you had, but also new ideas to think about. This is the idea of the show. So we'll cook some really yummy food, many years of experience of cooking, and a fusion of spices and ways to cook the food from the Mediterranean, the Arab world, East India, and other places around the world. And we will also discuss many things, including religion, politics, philosophy, and other matters of life. Let's start. Thank you so much. أهلا وسهلا فيكم. Bienvenidos. Why the mask? You might wonder. I mean, we can cook like everybody else without a mask. And why is it called Anonymous Show? Because when we have some discussions, I want to be really transparent and open about anything that we can talk about. I want to be transparent about the ideas. I want to be able to question religion. I want to be able to question politics, what governments are doing around the world, and with no fear of any repercussion. That might include safety of myself and my family, or my job opportunities as I look for work, as I am a professional. There are many fanatics around the world, and we've seen it some through history, that some can become violent, like the anti-abortionists and the abortionists. And also, I want to make it very clear, I don't belong to the anonymous movement, nor do I represent the anonymous movement. I'm just wearing the mask because I like the approach of the anonymous movement that started originally with the movie V for Vendetta. So we will be so much. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm sure you do. Love you. See you in the show. Let's start with our first meal. I'm gonna cook chicken. There are many ways to make chicken in the oven. I'm gonna start today with a chicken that I guess I use my own recipe. It's a mixture of Mediterranean and East Indian recipe. We'll also make some special yummy rice that will use a little bit of aromas and spices, as well as some vegetables and meat, and the ayran drink or yogurt drink that comes from the Middle East and Turkey. First, let's clean the chicken. So, so use a knife, any kind of knife, to make some, cuts in the chicken meat so that the water and the salt and the vinegar can enter in the whole chicken. Some cold water. I don't use hot water. Why? Because hot water comes in pipes that are used to hot water, and that can actually erode the pipes, especially in older buildings, and bring you some crap that you don't want in your food. I need to buy more vinegar. And you're gonna see the color of the water will change in a minute. That's a lot of salt, but don't worry, that salt will not affect the taste of the chicken when you cook. And then what I do, I use a knife, to move it a little bit. And shortly after, not only the color of the salt, you will see how the blood will come out and make this thing look a little bit disgusting. Which is the stuff that actually would be in the sauce of your food if you do not take it out. So let's leave this here for a while, and we can start looking at something else. Okay, now rice. This is basmati rice, long grain. You can have brown or white basmati rice. Brown is healthier, has more vitamins. The white one is bleached and loses a bit of its nutrients. So this is kind of white. Okay, so now that I washed the starch as much as I can, I add water to the rice and I leave it for a while to sit, maybe for 10 minutes. To help it clean a little bit further and also soften the rice so it's easier to cook. So how we're gonna make our rice. You can make it in different ways. You can use olive oil if you want. You can use, I never use margarine. Margarine is not healthy and it's not a natural product in my mind. So you can use butter, you can use olive oil, you can use other things. I'm gonna use coconut oil. It's very healthy and it has a different taste, but I also sometimes cook it with olive oil. So for now, in today's recipe, we'll use coconut oil. How much you use is really up to you. A couple of these smaller spoons is enough for me. I'll heat it up. Preparing the chicken. We left it here for like almost half an hour. If you want to come and see how the water looks totally disgusting, it's because all the stuff that came out of the chicken. So we're gonna use mustard and a little bit of yogurt. Why do we use yogurt? Not only for the taste, but the yogurt also has enzymes in it that helps cook the breast of the chicken, or the part of the chicken that's kind of difficult to give it taste. Usually it actually goes inside and give it a little bit more taste. So I'm not gonna use all the yogurt because I'm gonna make a drink with the yogurt. A drink that's known in Iran, Turkey, and Syria. So I'm gonna start mixing this. My hands are clean, don't worry. All together. Some people add turmeric also to give it some color. It's gonna have a red color, but if you want a yellow color, turmeric is really healthy and really yummy in your food. You can use that if you want in a different day, different recipe. Now I'm gonna repeat the same stuff on this other side of the chicken. So now that we have the rice I think is almost ready. The chicken is still in its sauce. I want to prepare the stuff that I'm going to use with the rice, or on top of the rice. And that will be some ground beef, some vegetables and potatoes, as well as some raisins. You can get white or red raisins. White raisins come from green grapes and red raisins come from red grapes. They add a really nice taste also. I'll show you how we're going to fry them. We'll also use some Spanish onions, which we're gonna cut and also fry with the raisins and make it a little bit spicy, so we'll add some chili. We'll also cut the potatoes in small pieces. Instead of putting them with the chicken to cook, I'll fry them with the vegetables and then use them to add them on top of the rice. Also fry some almonds. I know it's not a habit here in the West to use nuts in your rice and stuff, but it's amazing. It adds amazing flavor to many things that we use in the Middle East and the Mediterranean. The Italians use a lot of these nuts for their pasta. We use them with our rice, just like we use raisins and other things. So we're gonna fry them. We can also use pine nuts, but pine nuts are really expensive and they're really yummy. In some other dishes I will use pine nuts, but today I will use just different almonds. I put a little bit of olive oil so the chicken doesn't stick. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil also on the top. Just clean this so it looks good, nice. And I added all the sauce that we had in there. Now I'm gonna turn this into bake. I'm gonna put this 350, or let's just make it almost 400 just because my daughter is gonna come over and then we're gonna eat together. Let's cook some nice yummy stuff that goes on top of the rice. Use a little bit of olive oil. See the color? And it smells really great. I wish you could be here to smell it. It smells amazing. Very easy stuff. There's no magic to this. Only get used to using some of these spices and the habit of making something a little bit special. Now I'm gonna also start this here and start making the onions and the raisins. So first you put the onions. Let them starting to fry. So I have onions here with olive oil, and I'll add a little bit of crushed chili. You don't need to do that if you don't want something to be spicy. I like to mix different tastes. Can give a little bit of different kick. So yeah, while we're frying these onions with a little bit of chili, olive oil, I haven't added anything else yet here. I'm not gonna add anything actually. When this cooks a little bit and the onions start cooking, I'm gonna add my raisins. So we'll just give it a little bit of time till it starts cooking really well. I'll keep my eye on this as well. Make sure nothing gets burned. See this melody of colors. Smells so good. My wife is gonna die, and she doesn't eat rice or potatoes or any kind of carbs. So I feel really bad and guilty because usually I cook for her and she cooks for both of us, but I also cook for her and me, and I try to take that into consideration, which I'm not gonna do today because we have to cook our rice. Now I add my raisins. You add as much as you want. At the end you're gonna mix it with the rice. The raisins have a really beautiful, nice sweet taste, not too sweet like sugar. Kind of acidic, sweet taste. So when you have it with your rice, I mean, you can eat this rice alone, I know, you're thinking that. But yeah, what else, you know, you want to do when you have time to cook? Just go spend $100 or more or whatever on eating in restaurants. And they basically use a couple of things that were worth $5 to prepare your food. And done in a hurry. Okay, so notice that the potato is not cooking fast enough, and I don't want to overcook the vegetables. So I came up with a solution. Some water, boiling water with Maggi, 1 cube of Maggi, and you add it to it, and then you can cover it. This way it will not burn, and it will cook the potatoes real well. So as you can see now, the onions and the raisins and the chili are ready. I've added the meat that I fried separately before to this mix so it can give it taste and also take taste from the vegetables. And then we'll leave it cook together until the vegetables and the potato is ready. We'll leave it for a few minutes. Okay, Habibi, mis amigos, my friends, let's make a special drink that the Arabs, the Turkish, and the Persians drink, and not the whole world know about. I like this drink. It's a little bit on the salty side. It's really healthy. Some people call it ayran in Turkey and Syria. Some people call it dukh. And some people add a little bit of different things in it. So it's basically yogurt. You can buy your yogurt from anywhere. I use a full one to give it a nice strong taste instead of a watery taste. That's what you're going to use. Yogurt, salt, dry mint, ice, and cold water, and blend it. Some people add garlic to it. I don't like to add garlic. It's a strong taste. If you want to add garlic, you can add some chopped garlic. Now, this is some of my mint that I bought the other day. The mint, if you don't use it a lot, it goes bad fast. So all you do is wash it and dry it. And sprinkle a little bit of dry mint. Gives it a nice smell. Now we're gonna add the nuts. The different nuts that you can add to rice in the Arab world. You can use almendra, which is almonds. Almendra is in Spanish. Or you can use pine nuts. Also you can use the walnuts. But everyone has a different taste. I added olive oil, lots of olive oil. So I'm gonna start. I have two kinds of walnuts. I have this thicker cut, and I have the lighter flakes. Of course, these cook much faster than the thicker cut. So what you need to do is start. I mean, you can just do them separately, but it's too much work. So I'm gonna start with these, and then when they're almost ready to be cooked already, I will use the other one. Let's see how this thing is doing. I think it's almost done. I tasted. Of course, as a chef or a cook, you always have to taste your food. It is fine. And the potato is ready. But I'm gonna just leave it look at the minimum, just for it to evaporate a little bit. Now I start with a higher heat, and then it will start frying. My friends, amigos, amigas, ahora. Now, the moment of presenting your rice. So, you decide what you want to do. You can have these plates separately, and people can add things to their plates. Or, the Arabic way is they layer the stuff. So, you put your rice, as you can see. And by the way, we'll continue the discussion about religion and so on in the next episode. You can also go in the comment section and ask questions or make suggestions, or if you'd like to discuss something, we can do that. And like I said, in the future, when we have enough people watching this show and they want to get engaged, then we can add a number to call, and we'll tell you when we'll film, so you can call us, and then we can either have you on a video call or on in a phone call. This is your meat. Look at this, beautiful colors, and I'm sure it's an amazing taste. My daughter is waiting. She wants to eat. My wife decided to break her diet, and she's gonna eat rice today just because it smells so good. Okay, my friends, so now we got the chicken out of the oven. As you can see, it's not crispy, but we tried the meat and it's cooked and it tastes good. So what we'll do now, we'll change to broil, and we put this at 500. And the idea is few minutes, 3 minutes or something like that. Make sure you keep an eye on it, otherwise you'll burn your chicken. Just to make it a little bit crispy, and give it a crust. And then we'll show you that again in a few minutes, and then we'll be ready to eat. See you in a minute. Alright, my friends, we're ready to have some yummy food, add some love to our lives. Look at this chicken. Few minutes, made it a little bit more crispy. It's ready. See how it cuts so easily. So many colors. Like I said, the rice is a little bit busy. If you don't like to add the stuff on top of it, you can separate it and just take what you need on your rice. And basically, this is all ready. This is the ayran or dukh, our famous Turkish Arabic Persian food, a drink. I mean, if you ask people, they try to fight over and say it's our drink or you drink. I think it's irrelevant. I think human culture and human tradition contribute some love and beauty in everybody's life. Cheers. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for watching the first part of the show, which is about the cooking. And now we'd like to talk a little bit about the other themes that we mentioned and that we thought we would talk about. I'll be touching on different subjects in different episodes, and I will try to take it also gradually so one episode can build on another. So this episode we will talk about the politics of religion. And I think that's a very important subject. And basically in this episode we will not discuss the origins of religion from the human history, whether there is a God or there is no God, or the different theologies and ideologies of religion and spirituality, whether it's the three main religions or all the other religions that are in the human culture and part of the human fabric. I want to start with the politics of religion because this would highlight the importance of talking a little bit about religion as it relates to politics, and it relates to many events that we've seen through history as well as today. We've seen religion being used by the people in power, by the elite, by what is referred to as the ruling class in different countries throughout history, in different negative ways. Religions bring a lot of positive value, and did bring a lot of positive value when people started believing in different beliefs and spirituality and religion, especially that religion brought some new ways of social order, of trying to find a way to punish evil or punish injustice and things that happen in society that should not happen, or reward good behavior and caring behavior and so on. This is basically the main intention of different religions. Although historically, even before these religions existed, there were philosophers who talked about different things in society and why person would behave in a certain way, be just to other people, not inflict harm on other people, and also work together and belong to a society for the better good of the human collection or the people who live in that society, including Aristoteles and many other philosophers, like in China, Lao Tzu. If you research Lao Tzu, and he is referred to as the father of Taoism, and basically his philosophy revolves around enlightenment and seeking enlightenment. So different philosophies or different religions had different ways of trying to reward good behavior, and or mention punishment for bad behavior that maybe is not good for the society. Unfortunately, ruling class historically all throughout history has used a tactic that is divide and conquer. And basically because the masses of the population and the majority of the population are the population that is exploited. And there are huge numbers of people compared to the minority that is rich, that is in power, and that is basically directing the movement of history and leading us into wars and disasters and poverty and all kind of ills, as long as they can continue exploiting the majority of the population and enriching themselves further and further and further. So to be able to control the population in some negative way, what is referred to as the herd by some of these right-wing thinkers who work with the elite, there are many different tactics that were invented, whether it's dividing people according to their race or ethnic belonging or nationality or color or religion. We've seen many genocides throughout history. We've seen wars based on that. In recent history, we saw the genocide in Rwanda, and how basically, although it was in Africa and between tribes of the same race, it's still being used to give one group a righteous feeling or the right to harm the other group. We've seen it in Lebanon. We've seen it through the civil war in Lebanon, between Christians, Muslims, Shia, Sunni, Druze, and different groupings. All of these tactics basically brought people, or average people, who their daily concerns are basically the same, of trying to find a way to put bread on the table, take care of their family, feed them, have a roof on their head, and so on. However, so they have much more in common, whether they come from any religious background, than they would have in common of their daily concerns with their exploiters, with the ruling class in that country. And it's really kind of ironic and a shame that what you see are a lot of these people who are exploited and suffering under the rule of this minority and the rich. They think they have something in common with their rulers much more than they have with the people who are actually maybe in a different country, different background, different religion, but they live exactly the same life and suffer the same way. For example, in the current elections in the United States of America, a lot of average people, and a lot of them are from, I guess, European background or white background, they think that Trump is their guy. They think he represents their interest. And Trump is a billionaire. He built his fortune on exploiting people like them and others who work and work much harder than Trump and much harder than any of these rich people. And collectively, the wealth that they create is used by Trump and other billionaires around the world. And then they fight each other whether you should vote for this billionaire or that billionaire. People in Saudi Arabia, they think they have something in common with their kings. Their life is totally different. They go to work, these guys, every day. They struggle here and there to try to find a way to bring bread to the table. But then they would go to another country, like Syria, whether they're from Saudi Arabia or many other countries under the the drug and illusion of religion, that they're thinking they're building some new Islamic state, causing a lot of harm on many people in Syria, average people, that have much more in common with them than they have with rulers or the ruling class in either country or all these countries. We've seen this actually as a tool there. Neoconservative thinkers who work with these governments, like in the United States, for example, and other governments, as basically a department of the machine and organization of war. It's not only the military that works in war. They have psychologists, they have PhDs in philosophy, they have PhDs in sociology, working with them as part of their propaganda machine, whether they use that in the mainstream media that is controlled by the rich. I don't think I can own a television station, nor a lot of average people can really have their say in CNN or Fox News or CBC or many other news. It's decided by the minority who own these thousands of newspapers. You'll find them to be a few handful of families in every country. They own radio, they own print, and they own television channels. And basically their main concern and objective is not only to generate money through these stations, but also to protect the interest of their class. If one day the average people and the working class would unite together on the basis of their common interest as a class, the same way that the rich unite together, although they're a minority, for the interest of their class, believe me, history would change completely. And we will not see poverty, we will not see war, we will not see suffering. There is tons of wealth that's being created by the population of the planet that can create abundance in the planet. Not only that, but also take care of the health of the planet and take care of all the species that share this beautiful planet with us. But no, we are the majority, and this is why we need to be divided. In Lebanon, it's like atrocities that took place on the basis of religion. Different groups just, this is my boss, this is my leader, and all their leaders belong to the same religion, but they're all billionaires. Maybe there are few parties, organizations that are not in that equation. However, they're still stereotyped, or they're, other forces try to attack the people of that religion. So they can promote hate against that religion, and basically it's politics behind all of that. The Palestinian struggle and the situation in Palestine. People saying that this land was given to us by a religious book in history. And then they can go do whatever they want, and basically breaking international law, breaking UN resolutions, breaking all kind of international agreements, and do whatever they want under the excuse that this land was promised to them. I wonder, Jesus did not come from the United States of America, he did not come from Paris, he did not come from Rome, and he did not come from Texas or any place like that. He came from the Middle East, from the land of Palestine, and he actually spoke the language of Aramaic. The language of Aramaic, if you do a search in Google, and Google does not always give you the right answers because it's manipulated as well, but you'll find that Jesus spoke the language of Aramaic, and that there is actually a town or a city in Syria where the population still speak the language of Jesus. Now, is this shown in the mainstream media? No, of course not. What is shown through the channels here in the West to verify what's happening in Palestine, that Jesus maybe spoke Hebrew, or the Israeli state right now, their language is Hebrew. Jesus, although he was a Jew, he did not speak Hebrew. He spoke Aramaic. So people who come from other countries claim ownership of that land, regardless of the population that lived there for thousands of years, whether they're Jewish or any other background, or Muslims or Christians, and they're called anti-Semite if they raise any concerns about the way children are treated by this military force, women, innocent civilians, churches, schools, even mosques, hospitals being bombed, using weapons that are against international law, whether it's phosphorus bombs or whether it's depleted uranium bullets that were used in southern of Lebanon, or any other tactics that totally attacking journalists, attacking ambulances and health workers. All that is okay to hide and to accept if it's verified by a story that comes from the sky. Anybody can write history any way they want, and then they come and use that for politics and for power. Now, why is that? It's because Israel, it plays an important role in the Middle East. Israel was created for an important political role that would help the United States of America and so on to control the natural resources in the Middle East and make sure that the populations there do not get access to the wealth of their country, just like what happened in Iran. In Iran, when Mossadegh won democratically in Iran, first thing he did was nationalizing the Irani oil. He was then assassinated and the Shah was brought into power. In Iraq, when Abdul Karim Qasim also was the president of Iraq or ruler of Iraq, first thing he did also nationalized the oil. What happened to him? Saddam Hussein, was at the time a student in Egypt, worked with the CIA, and through the CIA they helped bring a coup in and assassinate Abdul Karim Qasim and bring Saddam into power. Because you cannot nationalize oil. What is happening in Venezuela now? Why is Chavez a bad guy and then Maduro is a bad guy and all these guys are dictatorships? Because the same thing. They decided to nationalize their oil and use it for the benefit of their population, the natural resources, instead of the few handful big corporations that run the planet. The same thing in Bolivia. All of a sudden there was a coup against Evo Morales in Bolivia. And he is basically one of the rare, very few best presidents in Latin America that has achieved huge and enormous economic gains for his people and reform for the original people, whether it's infrastructure or health or education, and no racism, no punishment of people because of their race. He was extremely popular, and he was winning a majority election after election. He even won international awards from Dubai and different countries and universities of the economical model that he did in Bolivia. All of a sudden there was a coup. The CIA was behind that coup, worked with the Mossad and the right wing in Bolivia and Colombia and so on to remove Evo Morales and Brazil and bringing a lady that has never been elected. And basically, within 30 days, many people were assassinated. The first thing she did with the first couple of months is privatize everything and basically sell it to destroy the economy. So, I mean, imagine if you were born from a family of a different religion. Maybe you're a Muslim. Imagine if you were born in a family that is Christian or a family that is Jewish. Or maybe you're Shia and you were born in a family Sunni, or Sunni born Shia, or Sikh. And were born in a family that is Hindu. You will basically grow up adopting that religion because your parents have that culture, and because this is the indoctrination that you're exposed to. So what gives a certain religion the authority of being right and saying we're right, you're wrong, judging other people, and therefore demonizing the right of other people to believe in anything, and then giving you the right to commit violence against other people. And this is exactly what happens. People in power, whenever the system is in crisis, that's inside where the rich live, for example, the United States, then they stir other means to divide people, whether it's racism, like we've seen. I mean, racism has been existed in the United States for a long time, but it was not exposed so much as it is today, because of the crisis of capitalism, advanced stages that is in, and that is the system is not able to deliver, and therefore, for keeping the population busy, fighting each other and going, to vote for this billionaire or that billionaire. At the end of the day, whether it's blue or red, Republicans or Democrats, if you look at the Senate or Congress, they're all millionaires. I can challenge you if you will not find that the majority of these representatives are millionaires and historically millionaires, and they've been there for years, and maybe some of them even for 30 years. So they represent exactly the same policies. Maybe they might do something a little bit different in the internal policy, but the foreign policy is exactly a blueprint that is followed by these puppets and written by the elite and the rich to protect their interest internationally. If you want to know more about that, for example, you can read the project of the New American Century that existed in the early 90s after the plan of bringing the Soviet Union down. How was religion used at that time? Of course, all of a sudden there were mujahideen. The mujahideen were the heroes, and they brought and recruited Wahhabi movements and many young people and so on, using the drug of religion to go and fight the infidels in Afghanistan. I was in Kuwait at the time, and I saw how all of a sudden, from the 70s and 80s, where none of this religious conservatism and Wahhabism existed in many countries in the Middle East, not in Egypt, not in Syria, not in Afghanistan, not in many countries. Actually, if you look at historic pictures and documentaries of those countries, you will see that the women in Afghanistan did not wear the burqa. The majority of them were not wearing any veils. They used to go to school, they used to be active in many, many professions, and they were actually even European dresses, whether short dresses or whatever they wanted to wear. The same thing was in Egypt. You could look at Egypt's pictures at the time of Jamal Abdel Nasser and others before this religious movement, basically that was stirred by the West, working with Saudi Arabia and the Wahhabis, to try to use Islamic ideology, unfortunately, in a very long way and manipulated way. And that's not all Islam is like this. The true Islam is not like that, but it was politicized. And it was also, the fanatic part was ideologically, pumped up. I remember when I was in university, young girls started wearing hijab all of a sudden, and ishar, what we call ishar, or cover. And I asked them, why are you guys doing this? And they said that they're getting paid by the mosques. All of a sudden, any girls who wears that, like 30 Kuwaiti dinars at the time. And 30 Kuwaiti dinars at the time was very helpful money for people who needed it. So even Germany participated in that funding of these groups. All of a sudden, mosques were pumping, everywhere, and their ideology of jihad and jihadism against the commies of the Soviet Union. Of course, the commies are always the evil guys, and just go kill the commies. And recruited them from Europe, from Bosnia, from any country you can think of, even from the West. Bring more young people and brainwash them and go fight the jihad war. This is the danger of politicizing religion. And that basically, those so-called freedom fighters at the time, who are now today's terrorists, helped bring down the Soviet Union. At that time, there were many plans for the future of the planet after bringing down the Soviet Union. And that is basically building the American empire all over the world and accessing resources, and therefore intensify the contradictions and competition between the US, North American ruling class, and the European ruling class, who came up with the European Union idea, versus China, versus India, and so on, and so on, and so on. So, I see this in TikTok. It is disgusting. What happened in Lebanon, the recent explosion in Lebanon, people, start using racial slurs and start using, things that are based on religion, celebrating what happened in Lebanon. You guys deserve it. Or that's based on nationalism, whether you're Syrian or Lebanese, or whether you're Sunni or Shia. The disgusting also wave of hatred that's being stirred in the Middle East against Iran and against the Shia, our brothers and sisters who are Shia Muslims. That's totally a political movement. And why? Because Iran is refusing to give up on the rights of the Palestinians, is refusing to have a national bank privatized and owned by the Rothschild family, just like Libya did, and just like Cuba does, and just like North Korea and China and so on. Basically, any country that the US names as the axis of evil, you'll find that, coincidentally, these countries are not under the shoes of the United States, are not bending over, and their banks are not owned by the Rothschilds, and many of them have nationalized their own resources. That is the only fault that they have. It's nothing about human rights, nothing to do with that. Actually, the US and the CIA and the Mossad and the West have supported many right-wing governments in Latin America and Africa that slaughter people and that abuse human rights. How often do you hear about what's going on in Colombia? For years now. Colombia has a disgusting human rights record and assassinating activists and people who belong to unions or activists for women's rights or farmers' rights. Is that brought up by the U.S. as an issue? No, the U.S. just like to talk about Cuba. And what did Cuba do to Canada or the U.S.? Trudeau pulled the Cuban embassy, the Canadian embassy out of Havana. No other prime minister did that. What did Cuba do to Canada? Nothing. What has Venezuela? Has Venezuela attacked United States or Iran attacked United? Even Iraq attacked? None of these countries ever done harm to the United States of Canada, of the United States of America, or to Canada, or to any of these NATO countries. But they're always evil, and they scare the population. So the United States of America, the population has always to be scared. What Noam Chomsky referred to as the scared, terrified population. So they're always afraid of an outside enemy. And therefore, there's always an excuse for the ruling class to go out and bomb other countries, to exploit their resources and change the regimes any way they like. And send the young people of the United States who cannot find a better job anywhere else, like African Americans or Latinos or other working class people, in the army to get them to pay and go fight the wars of the rich. It has nothing to do with the better interest of the average person in the United States. It has everything to do with the interest of the big corporations that are basically running history and causing all this damage to control population, to control labor standards, and to have the cheapest access to any resources they want, whether it's in Africa or Latin America or the Middle East. It is very easy if you ask yourself, where are the hot spots around the world? Where are the wars happening? Whether they're civil wars or wars with the United States and so on. You take that map and you point out this map to where these spots are, and you find that all of a sudden there is oil there. It's either oil or gas or gold or diamonds or platinum or maybe just a route that can impact commerce, and that they want to have total control on that location. Saudi Arabia, let's talk about Saudi Arabia, 9/11. Supposedly the story says that most of the people who were in those planes were from Saudi Arabian origin. Did the United States go to war with Saudi Arabia? Of course not. Saudi Arabia, despite the dismal and the very extremely disgusting human rights record of Saudi Arabia against women, against minority, against many rights and freedoms, the United States never does anything. They go love them, they hug them, they kiss them, they're under their shoes, they work with them, they do whatever they want. Saudi Arabia can do whatever they want in Yemen, slaughtering people in Yemen and so on, and nobody questions that in the West. But of course, daily propaganda against Iran, who's done nothing to the West, and daily propaganda against China, against North Korea, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, you name it. Anything they can come up with. Who's been arresting protesters in the United States? They're American soldiers and American police. China did not go in the United States. This stupid lie about TikTok spying on people in the US. I mean, why would China spy on teenagers doing their thing on TikTok? What would that do? But it's proven through whistleblowers and documented everywhere that actually the CIA, working with many corporations and so on, spy on Americans. That information is sent to them. So, let's just take a deep breath and think about that. Why should I judge other people from a different background? I myself, I'm an atheist. I was born in a religion of Islam, but through my own research and so on, I reached this conclusion. However, I totally respect the spirituality of people and their right to believe and their right to practice their beliefs in religion, just like I have the right to practice what I believe in. So that is not the issue and the question. The issue and the question is pay attention to who's real your enemy is, and that the majority of people are just like you. Doesn't matter where they come from, what their background, what their religion, are human beings like you, struggling every day to put food on the table, where they're in Israel or Palestine, and so or the United States, of course in Africa, different standard of living altogether, or Yemen. They're just different harm is being inflicted on them depending on the political situation, and religion is actively being used to divide and conquer, and judge other people, as well as other bases for dividing people. I want to end this here today. This is just the first episode, and basically, although it's high level discussion and it's all over the place, just wanted to connect the dots together of why it is very important to discuss religion. We should not shy away from these discussions, to relate it to politics, to relate it to what's going on, and not only talk about hockey or movies and what happened yesterday in Hollywood, or just the sports bar and soccer and football, but anything else is not a subject that we should not touch, whether you're a young person or an older person. If you really live in a free country and you're a free person, then you should be very free and have no hesitation to feel comfortable discussing any theme, as long as it's not causing harm to other people and not respecting other people's beliefs. Thank you again for watching the episode today. I really enjoyed doing the cooking show today, and thank you also for being here to listen to me. I would have loved it that we could have a two-way conversation so we can interact, and maybe we can do this in the future by adding a WhatsApp number to call. But for today, please feel free to leave any comments, any questions, any suggestions in the comment section. Also, please like, subscribe, and share if you like, and we will see you in the next episode. We will let you know what we're going to discuss in the next episode, but see you soon, and thank you. Muchas gracias. Shukran lakum. Ahla wa sahla fikum. Thank you so much. Love you all. Cheers. Cheers. Like, please, subscribe, leave me some comments so we can discuss more things next week. We'll go a little bit deeper in this religion discussion, or we can talk about politics and so on. Let me know if you think this idea of a show is good. Cheers.